but most of your life is going to be routine based on, and to me, it's like, do our routines align? Like, does my purpose align with my spouse's purpose? And together, we create happiness through that. But still, most days are going to just be a normal routine, probably with not many, full happy days. I think they're more moments is what it is. But yeah, to have a lifestyle predicated on happiness, I can't predicate something on moments. So that's kind of how I look at it. It's just not a sustainable model.
And now, Verbal Artwork Podcast with Mr. Rembrandt.
All right, this is another episode of Verbal Artwork with Mr. Rembrandt. Of course, I'm Mr. Rembrandt, and I'm here with, you know who it is, Mr. Raw Wilkes. And we got a great episode for you today. So if you don't already know, go follow me on Instagram, Mr. Rembrandt, no spaces. Also, you can go follow Raw Wilkes. That's raw_Wilkes, Wilkes. And don't forget, go to the channel. You're going to be watching this from the channel, but don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button. And you can definitely go over to patreon.com/verbalartwork and get exclusive content there and become a member and support the channel. Yeah, so we'll go right into it, Raw Wilkes. So just like last time, I shared some content with you, and we reacted on it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that again today, and we're going to have a great conversation and react off of that. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share it.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, I see it up there. Yeah. All right.
And so Andrea asked, what is the secret to a healthy and happy marriage? I think it's actually a very well composed question, a healthy and happy marriage. Drew?
Well, I actually don't think it's a good question. And I'll tell you why. I mean, I think happy is a pretty low goal. I mean, first of all, there's going to be lots of times in your marriage where you are seriously not happy. And sometimes that's going to be because you're having conflict with your partner, but sometimes it's going to be because all hell's broken loose around you. And then if you judge the success of your marriage on your happiness, then the same thing happens if you judge your success in life on the basis of your happiness. What do you have when it's nothing but suffering? And that's going to be plenty of your life. And so the whole orientation of that question in that sense is wrong. What you want to have in your marriage is, I would say, first and foremost, like a scrupulous honesty. And I don't just mean that you tell each other the truth, because you can be brutal with the truth. I mean the kind of honesty that's devoted towards thriving in love, you know? And you want to act nobly in your relationship. You want to be reliable and productive and generous and then if you're lucky, now and then, you might be happy. And you might have a clear enough conscience so that in those rare moments where you are truly happy, you can also enjoy it without guilt. And so you aim at something a lot higher than happiness, and then you welcome it if it deigns to land on you for brief moments of time. So.
Well said.
Yeah, so as we saw, the question was asked by they have a funny name for him, something God, that they call the guy from the Daily Wire. But Jeremy is his real name. And Jerry Borvinger is his real name. And he asked a question from an audience member, what, in regards to marriage, what is the key to a happy marriage? And the response by Jordan Peterson is, first of all, he said, I don't even like the question, and everybody laughed. And I noticed this when it comes to Jordan Peterson, and obviously we've seen this live because we've been seeing him live in his show. And, I've seen him even more times than that and spoke with him. But a lot of times he'll say something so serious that people will actually laugh as if he's being humorous. And he's not.
Right. And it's not.
He wasn't joking. He was serious. He said, really, as far as I'm concerned, I don't even like the question. It's the wrong type of question. Because in general, and he does a fake smile and a fake laugh. The whole essence of it is
a happy marriage. Huh?
Happiness is not the number one goal in a marriage. And I've said that in my previous relationship, and it's not something necessarily that a woman wants to hear, especially a modern woman, when you tell them something like, well, and as far as I'm concerned, the key to this relationship is not happiness at all. The key to the relationship is about, us functioning and doing our part in a way that we make our lives better. And then as a result of that, we'll have some type of happiness as a result of doing that. But the initial goal being happiness in this this negotiation that we're having, which is a relationship, the number one goal is, the number one thing is not happiness. Like, I have a job to do within this relationship, you have a job to do in this relationship, and anyone out there has a job to do in that relationship. The goal is not satiated enjoyment, which essentially what happiness is. Now, what we will get as a result of doing specific goals for each other will be happiness, but I wouldn't even say it would be happiness. I would say it'd be long-term fulfilled meaning.
Right.
So happiness is not actually what's important in the goal of a relationship. The goal of a relationship is, I'm providing for you, doing for you, and you are providing for me and doing for me, and together we are having a relationship of reciprocity. Mm-hmm. And as a result of that, hopefully we have a fulfilled life of meaning, and somewhere in there we'll have happiness. And the problem with that is, see, when you're doing something for happiness, for example, it's like going to an amusement park. You go to an amusement park for happiness. I go and eat ice cream for happiness. I go see a movie for happiness. You get into a relationship for fulfillment, not for dopamine hits, satiated feelings, which is dopaminergic. You get into a relationship for meeting. So what did you take away from that?
Yeah, so I'm same thing what you said. I look at happiness as like somebody saying, be perfect. You can't be perfect, it's impossible, but you can strive for perfection, just like you can strive for happiness. You can't be happy all the time. You can't be perfect all the time. So I kind of look at it as happiness are just moments. Most of us as creatures of creatures of habit, we're creatures of habit. So most days are just routine. So you might have happiness throughout, the days or the weeks or the months, but most of your life is going to be routine based on, and to me, it's like, do our routines align? Like, does my purpose align with my spouse's purpose? And together we create happiness through that. but still most days are going to just be a normal routine, probably with not many, full happy days. I think they're more moments is what it is. But yeah, to have a lifestyle predicated on happiness, I can't predicate something on moments. So that's kind of how I look at it. It's just not a sustainable model. So like I said, strive for happiness is one thing, but that would be big. To me, that would be based on your purpose.
Yeah. And this is why I believe one of the reasons why a lot of relationships fail is people get into a relationship thinking that it's the other person's job to make me happy.
No.
And that's a goal of failure.
100%.
Yeah, because in actuality, really, only you can actually make yourself happy. A person can add to that, but it only takes you. There's actually nothing in life that you can do that will just bring pure happiness to your life. You can give somebody the biggest house in the world, the nicest car in the world, all the money in the world. It's still not going to bring happiness. You can even bring them the most perfect partner that they ever wanted, ever could dream of, and put it right in front of their face and give it to them. And they still won't have immense happiness.
Yeah.
We see it all the time. People have tangible things in their life all the time in which we view at them when it comes to celebrities specifically I'm talking about. And we look at their lives, and what do? They delete themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not using the S word, but they delete themselves.
100%. And another thing I was thinking of, like, if you base your relationship based on, happiness, as they say in the question, how do you deal with the days that are not so happy? If you're striving for happiness, well, we all know that's impossible to be able to sustain that every day. So the days that you do have some trials and tribulation and some really very bad days, now as a couple, how do you deal with those? And that's why I like to have a relationship based on how do you solve problems? Like, how do we deal with pain and suffering? How do we get through those moments? Because the happiness, I can have happiness with a stranger. I can go to the bar right now and have some happiness. I can go out and have happy, create happiness with people I don't even know, versus you might not be able to really solve difficult problems or go through life. Life throws you curveballs, and those curveballs you might not be able to deal with or solve with anybody. So to me, it's like, it should have been like, how do you have a successful life of marriages? Well, how do you find a partner that's willing to get and grind with you and go to the depths of dealing with pain and suffering together? And how do we overcome those obstacles? That's happiness to me, because it feels so much rewarding to go over. Think about an obstacle. Anybody that ever dealt with something, think about an obstacle that was so difficult to overcome, and you overcome it. Think about how that made you feel. So to me, I look at it that like, dang, maybe we went through something that was so bad and then we still made it through. To me, that gives me happiness with that individual for long-term serotonin, instead of, like you said, dopamine hits.
Yeah. And and the reason why we're using that specific analogy for people who don't understand exactly what we're meaning by that, dopaminergic hits are kind of, it's the release you get from drugs, right? Eating food, smoking cigarettes, and actually you could even get it from drugs. This is why drugs are so powerful. When you get that dopaminergic release also from using drugs, you also get a serotonin release from doing drugs as well. That's why people, when they're on drugs, their desire to have goals and physical orientated habits towards working and completing goals and having fulfillment gets completely wiped out and summed up to zero, is for the specific reason because when they use drugs, it actually releases serotonin hit as if they have complete, fulfilled, long-term, sustainable happiness. So that's the actual danger of drugs. So yes, serotonin being the long-term fulfilled happiness that you have, and dopamine hurts just being something that you do in a quick satiated hits due to food, smoking cigarettes, getting on a roller coaster ride. So serotonin is like trying to be a successful coach, and one year you win a national champion, the next year you become a runner-up, then the next year you might get 5th place, and then 4 years later you win another championship, and then the 5th year you got coach of the year, then the 6th year you got 1st place, and the 7th year you might have got 10th place and didn't do that well. Then the next year right after that you got a national championship, and then you're like, well, I've been doing this for 15 years, let me go ahead and retire. And when you're sitting there on that podium getting the Hall of Fame award and those tears are coming down your eyes, that's serotonin.
Yeah,
that's what serotonin is.
The journey.
Yeah, so, and you can't get that with a dopamine hit. So
no.
Yeah, so striving for happiness, it's, and I don't want people to take this the wrong way. I'm not saying don't do things that make you happy, because there's always going to be people in the comments that are just going to spin and twist this and say
spin and redirect.
Yeah, but do things that make you happy, but you don't want to have addictive behaviors that are not driving towards a long-term fulfilled desired. And in a relationship, it's about what you can do for the person, not what the person can do for you. In totality, not in overall totality. There are some aspects, obviously, you want somebody who's going to be responsible, take care of you, have generous forms of affirmation and all things like that. We understand that, but in general, like the Drake song, you can only give love, you can't take it. And in a relationship, you should be concerned with what you do for the next person, not sitting there tallying up how many things they've done for you, and as if it's their responsibility to make you happy, and if you don't get it, you just pack your things and leave. Selfishness. It's about, what can I do for this person to make this work so that we have a goal as a team. I even use the reference a lot of times that to look at a relationship as a relationship, specifically as one thing, is kind of myopic. A relationship is a multitude of things, and people might not like these analogies, but in one particular analogy, it's not really going to be liked by probably the modern feminists, but it's a combination of analogies. And one of them is, a relationship is like a job, okay? And I would say it's more like a job, okay? And I'll explain that in a minute. It's also a partnership, okay? It's also like a team spirit environment, okay? And when it comes to a work environment, okay, there's a situations where you have a boss, you have an employee, okay? So, and there will be times where whoever the boss is of the relationship, usually it's the man. More nowadays, more than ever, there's a lot of women who are running relationships. That's fine. Probably most of those end in failure, but okay. And there's one person who's making most of the decisions, probably most competent, and then you have somebody who is leading to make sure that that is functioning properly. And then sometimes the roles are reversed when specific things, okay? And I use that analogy because in a relationship, there's a lot of times where we get into this habit that, especially when it comes to young women, where young women will say a lot of different things and behave in a lot of ways to their partners that they would never even do to their boss. So it's like we actually put the work environment on a pedestal, and we put the relationship in a lower rate than the work, than the environment and the behavior that we have, even if we were at work. So that's why I say it's forget about thinking of a relationship as a relationship. You should actually think of it as work environment, because when your boss tells you to do something, you do it. You don't backtalk. You don't get smart. You don't get fresh. And even if you don't want to do it, you say, hey, you know what? I don't really feel like doing this, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it anyway. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's required of you.
Right.
Because it's needed of you. So
Yeah.
why wouldn't you give that same respect to your man? Okay. Then on top of that,
100%.
it's looked at as a partnership. Okay. When you have a financial or company partnership, for example, you have two partners. One is more competent in one thing. The other partner is more competent in another thing. And they compromise and they work together to get a desired outcome. That might be $100 million at the end of the year. That might be whatever. Okay. It might be in a relationship. We're going to get together to get a house. Okay. I'm going to be making all the money. I'm going to be doing all the overtime. But I need you to make sure that, hey, when I come home, things are in order. You're allowing the household environment for me to be stress-free so I can do all this overtime, and supporting each other. And the other aspect is a team environment, a group environment. And the team environment is you have a team captain. You have somebody who's leading, who's playing, who's calling all the shots, and or the coach. But the person playing center, their position is not less significant than the person playing point guard. Because without the point guard to throw the ball to the center for the alley-oop to dunk it, there is no game being won by that team. It's you versus it's the team versus other teams. So when you look at it that way, a partnership, you building a company together as a partnership to take on other companies, you having a team to beat other teams, working together, whether you like to or not. When your captain says do something, you do it so you can win the game. A job, right? Knowing that I signed up for this to know that I work this position. These are my boss, and I'm supposed to follow their direction and do what they say, even if I actually don't feel like it. So we put all of these different things on a pedestal, while in our relationship we disrespect our other. We don't listen to what they say. We try to manipulate them. We use innuendo, gossip, character destruction, cunning, guile, Machiavellianism, manipulation, provocation. Women use outward adornment in all sorts of behaviors, shit testing, verbal aggression, indirect aggression, and
Separate in their workplace.
right, separate from the workplace, because it's obviously used a lot in the workplace as well. And it shouldn't be done. It absolutely shouldn't be done. And young women need to like really think differently about how they're approaching relationships nowadays, because they're getting out of hand. It's absolutely positively disgusting.
Yeah. Like real quick, like you were just the analogy of the work and the relationship, how those two are should be similar. I was just thinking, like, for instance, when it comes to work, two things that come to mind is duty and loyalty, like loyalty to your job, respect, loyal and respect, and then your duty. So when it comes down to work, you can work at a job and actually be happy and love your job. But in between that, maybe you get a new boss or somewhere where it changes the environment, and now you no longer feel happy at the workplace or even love the job. But guess what? You still have a duty to take your ass to work. And it's funny, when it comes to that, people have no problem taking themselves to work. Well, I have to take my work because I got to provide for my kid, or I got to pay for my living. So now I have no choice. But even though I don't love the job no more, because maybe my surroundings changed. So at one point you were happy. At one point, and maybe now you're no longer, but guess what? You probably do a 20, 30-year career in a job that you don't hate. You hear this all the time, people doing jobs they don't love. But yet when they're in a relationship, well, what is your longest relationship? 6 months, maybe a year, maybe less than that. You hear it all the time, but then you got people that stay in jobs 10, 15, 20, 30 years. So why can't you use that same concept in your relationship? Duty and loyalty. Because at the end of the day, if you have those two things, it's my duty to stay in this relationship and make it work, just like I make it work at my job. So back to the point of, listening to what you said, that whole spill, like, yeah, you're right. The job concept should be in a relationship because we're already doing it. And that's something we can all relate to and understand. So why not use that in the, in your personal, your personal lives in your relationships?
Yeah.
It's a more sustainable model.
It is. And why would you put a boss on a higher pedestal than you would put your man, for example? It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense at all. And so, and in actuality, we've done studies to show that even when you're in a relationship, for example, women actually don't even prefer to work full time and even be at work. 70% of women in a marriage do not prefer to work full time. Actually, 70% of women would actually prefer not to work full time, but actually in a relationship, in a marriage, 70% of women actually do work full time. So just to add to that whole analogy, that the women don't even actually want to be at work at rates that they are at work. The number is actually exact. But yet you do go to work and you treat your boss a lot of times better than you treat your spouse. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
You know.
Why give your boss that much authority?
Exactly. Why?
The person that cares for you and deals with you on a daily basis.
Who is part of your team?
Yes.
You doing something for your boss to help that company will help that company, yes, and you'll get paid. But doing something for your husband is going to be the real benefit towards the success of your life in actuality. Because let's say you do spend 5, 10, 15, 20 years and you retire from that job. Guess what? You're going to spend the rest of your life, hopefully, if you do it right, with the person you married.
Exactly. It's interesting because it's like at a work environment, people naturally have like conflict resolution skills because you have to, because to be able to do something and put your differences aside to work towards a common goal that you might not agree with, but you still basically, uphold the policy or uphold the standard. But I might have a standard in my relationship, but you feel the need that you can break that standard when you feel the need to, or you don't feel happy, or you feel, that things are not going the way you would like them to go. But in your job, you got SOPs and policies to follow, procedure and guidelines that you might not even agree with, but yet you'll still follow them because you understand the duty and how the things work. It's more structure and order. And I always said that your relationship should be like a job in that regards too, being structured. Because it makes people from basically getting outside a boundary, and there's no boundaries. Which if there's no boundaries, we already know it's chaos.
Yes.
It's chaotic.
Without order, there's chaos.
Yeah. And what do you have at work? Order. And it's funny, people can work in a job for 20 years because it's order, but can't last a relationship for a year. But if I told a woman that I want you to write down some policies and procedures for me, and I do it for her, she would say, why would you want to, I've done this. Why would you want to take it that serious? Why do I got to write it down? Because I want you to write down what parameters you want for me, and I'm going to write mine down. And then we're going to use this as a guideline for the rest of our relationship. But that's holding you accountable though.
Yes.
Because if something changes, I'm like, no, you didn't require me this from day one. This is what your tenets were. I'm following your tenets. So what's the difference in the work environment?
Yes. Yeah, it allows people to be more accountable and to hold people to a higher standard to be responsible for their word. And relationships should be done in that way. I mean, the number one thing that couples argue about, which is the number 2 reason for divorce, and I mentioned this before, the clinical data, the top 3 reasons for divorce. Top 3 out of the top 5 reasons for divorce. And the number 2 reason is arguing. arguing in conflict. The number one reason for arguing conflict, which causes a divorce, is not actually money, what most people think. It's actually goals and roles. And couples argue about different things that are predicated upon goals and roles. You know, she might say, well, you were supposed to do this. And he's thinking, well, you were supposed to do that. And well, he was supposed to do this. And you were supposed to do that. And how come you didn't do this? How come you didn't do that? And well, why are you doing this? And why are you doing that? And I told you not to do that. I told you not to do that. But you never said this. You never said that. And that's basically all predicated on the fact that in the beginning, they never laid down the law. What does Brother Polite say? What does Brother Polite say? Family is business, love is law.
Yeah, love is law. Yeah, family is business, love is law. Yeah.
And
I was about to say I'm too smart to be broke, but that's not what you wanted, though.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that. I was like, he normally says I'm too smart to be broke.
Yeah, and he follows that up with something else.
Yeah, he does. He is. Shout out to him.
Yeah, shout out to Brother Polite. And yeah, so, and I champion that concept.
It is.
I champion that concept because without order, there's chaos. And it's actually in Peterson's first book, which I had my ex read it. She actually came to me and said, "Yeah, well, it appears that from reading his book, in which she came to me about it, she explained that he lays out the biblical aspects on how us as women were chaos and you men are order." And she found that very ironic. And that's controversial, but there is some truth to it, to where I don't really want to expand on that exactly that deep right now, because it's a whole nother topic that could be a podcast on. But obviously chaos is not always bad, because Jordan Peterson expounds in his second book, 12 More Rules for Life, which I have the book here, actually, which is Beyond Order, 12 More Rules for Life, which is basically saying that actually sometimes you could actually have too much order. And if you have, for example, an authoritative government who's having control over your life, that in a sense is too much order, in which it's actually not healthy. So free will, a lot of times, to do things that are unscripted will allow chaos, but sometimes a little bit of chaos with the right amount of order gives balance.
Create something beautiful from that. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So, when we talk about relationships, and sometimes you'll hear a lady say, sometimes I just want to be happy. That's all I want. I just want to be happy in my relationship. When it comes to a long-term relationship, we agree, I don't want to answer for you, would you agree that having conflict resolution skills is important more so than just learning just trying to be able to make somebody happy over in general, just being able to. So with that being said, my question is, how could a woman be able to learn in general to be able to learn conflict resolution? Like, where do you get that from? Like that's something in relationships we never talk about. We talk about what to do to be happy with a spouse, but we really never really talk in depth about how to solve conflict and what resolution is like in a relationship, and how would a person be able to get those skills?
Great. So conflict resolution, right? So again, I think I mentioned this before. Sam Harris had a podcast episode with Tom Beluga. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. Impact Theory. Be legendary is what he always says. And in that particular episode, I think Sam Harris has been on many different episodes with him in particular, but one of the episodes he talked about what people can do to when it comes to their emotions. And I don't agree with everything Sam Harris talks about, especially politics. He's very weak in that area. He knows nothing. He actually says things that are actually completely outrageous, and that doesn't even make him seem like an intellect. When he starts talking about politics, he's clueless. And I think that's the fact that he's, over the past few years, he's just incredibly emotionally unstable as a person. His relationship is probably the same way. I would bet money on it. But leaving that alone, what he did say, which he's good on understanding emotion, is behavioral things neurologically when it comes to people and their emotion. One thing he said is learning how to control your emotion is a skill that has to be learned. And a lot of people have not learned that skill. And it's incredibly more difficult for young women to learn that skill than men, because women are dealing with a more neurotic personality than the personality that men biologically have to deal with. This is why women are generally considered, as Jordan Peterson would say, chaos, and men are the order. And this is something we know a priori. There was that TV show, The Survivor, something like of that nature, where they were thrown out in the woods, and men were able to group themselves together. It was men versus women.
Oh, Bear Grylls. Bear Grylls or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the men were able to assimilate very quickly, build tents, get fire going, get things to eat very quickly, while the women could not structure themselves together to put a plan in order to survive. So I say all that to say that there's a lot of aspects about men that are very structured and very natural to assimilate themselves. So women have a harder time compared to just the normal person, men or women, to control their emotions, because not even all men know how to control their emotions. So with that said,
right,
it's actually the number one thing in life that women should focus on, with the same amount of energy that they would use to try to get a PhD in school. That's a good point. Yes, I really wholeheartedly believe that. It's like, as far as I'm concerned, a woman should wake up every day, spend a few hours a day focusing on how to deal with, control their emotions, and learn themselves. And if a woman could master that, as far as I'm concerned, that really, like I said it before, is how men view women as intelligent. In regards to a relationship.
Right.
Now, like I've always said before, and I'll make the disclaimer that, we need women in society who are going to say, hey, I'm not really concerned with the relationship, having kids, having a family. I'm going to take the risk and be a person who focuses on career because I want to cure cancer. I want to help Elon Musk set rockets to the moon. I want to innovate and impact the world in a way that a lot of people have never done. Yes, do that. We need women to do that, right? Because that's 50% of potential in society that we need. But for a woman to say that, hey, I don't really interested in a relationship or having kids or any of that stuff now. I just want to spend, all of my 20s traveling and taking photos and basically sitting on the beach doing nothing, and waste their biological clock on just having fun or doing frivolous things. I think they're making a big mistake. So again, with that said, as far as I'm concerned, and we know this, that young women get more fulfillment out of relationships and being married than they do making money or sitting on the beach by themselves or with a friend and getting drunk. I mean, really nobody gets fulfillment like that. So
women are into people.
Women are into people, men are into things. So the advice is that, yes, strive for education, strive for work-related things, but put your energy into trying to be the best person you can by getting your emotions in check, getting your behavior in check, getting your psychological health in check, because this is an incredibly big thing for women. And in relationships, men want a few things. They want the 3 S's. And I'm not going to say the 3 S's right now because I just want to take a different approach on how I'm describing. But when it comes to the 3 S's, basically they are, because men are simplistic, men want a homemaker type of wife, a type of spouse. So you having a degree and, you know, having all of these degrees and all of these high incomes, that's great. A male with average income 40 or 50,000 might think that's excellent, but in general, men want peace and cooperation, and a woman who is not very neurotic and pathological and uses indirect forms of aggression and manipulation and Machiavellianism and verbal forms of aggression and indirect aggression. And these are tactics that women use all the time within relationships that cause men to become impotent and acquiesce. And when women aren't around, they go to work and they tell the guys that they work with that they just don't know what to do. They're completely upset. They've tried everything. They built a house for their wife. They bought the cars. They feed her. She doesn't have to do anything in the world. You take care of the kids. And I'm doing everything I possibly can to take care of this woman. And every time I come home, I put one foot in the door. I'm doing this wrong. I'm doing that wrong. I'm doing this wrong. All men in any professional job, they go to work and they say these things. Some women might be looking at this and saying, well, I wonder what kind of woman he's dating. No, the type of woman he's dating is no different than the type of young lady who's watching this right now. You all are not much that different when it comes to that. You are very emotional, and you pick fights, and you are highly creative with fixating on things that are minute and mostly non-existent to create an argument about, when again all of the gigantic and major things of a household and day-to-day lives are completely taken care of. Okay? And young women know this. You build your man up. You support your man. You have faith in your man.
Be his inspiration.
You don't nag him into the ground. You don't argue him into the ground. You don't come with your attitude in the ground. The same way you treat your boss, the same way you behave with your boss is really, at minimum, the way you should be acting with your husband, but better than. So my thing is to that is, you know, it's this. 25% of women are, 25% of women have anxiety. 15% of women have depression. Over the course of a lifetime, 30% of women will have depression at some point. Women are 2 to 3 times more likely to have mental illness than men, in all mental illness and psychological illnesses based in neurosis. Okay? 1 out of every 3 women have a clinical mental illness. 1 out of every 4 women, which is 25%, are on psychological medication. And 50% of women are at extremely high risk from being diagnosed with mental illness. Okay? So women need to, before they get in a relationship, well before they get in a relationship, it's my advice that all women, see a therapist.
Yeah.
Go see a therapist. Sit down with a therapist. Sit down with a therapist. I read a statistic the other day in clinical literature saying that over 50% of women with mental illnesses don't seek therapy. And in all honesty, if, like I said, women should engage in therapy before they get in a relationship with a man. Okay, before. And my advice is to see a male therapist. Women should be seeing a male therapist, not a female therapist, because first of all, a therapist tends to engage in what is called unconditional positive regard, which I don't believe is extremely helpful all the time in therapy. B.F. Skinner had a lot of criticism of Carl Rogers when it came to unconditional positive regard. Unconditional positive regard has become the gold standard in therapy, which is when the therapist basically agrees with you on most of your issues and problems, because the advice of mostly the tactic of a therapist is not so much to give you advice, but to try to help you find yourself and steer you in the right direction. And I'd like the focus of a behavioralist more than a psychologist, because a behavioralist actually says, no, we need to fix this behavior. You need to do this in order to fix this. Psychologists typically don't like to do that. But women need to see therapists before you get in a relationship with a man, and see a male therapist. Why a male therapist? Because women tend to co-ruminate, and a female therapist with a female client will typically co-ruminate and use too much unconditional positive regard, and you can get a more objective response from a male therapist, since your goal is to work on your mental health, so that eventually you can get in a great relationship with a man, especially if you never had a father, you have problems with your father, and or you just want to see male professional advice before you get in a relationship with a man. Women, I believe all women need to do this, and it's not being done.
Yeah. And the thing too is, we look at therapy, people look at it in a negative connotation, like therapy, I might be on drugs, or I have some type of substance abuse issue, or it's like, no, just for the audience, like look at therapy as more of a self-development. Like, hey, you go to work, you're in a job, it's like, well, okay, well, to be better at your job, maybe you take some extra classes or do some extra training. It's self-development to be a better, at your field of study. So look at it as a way to go, okay, let me take out, we all have issues, and even a lot of rich and successful people do therapy all the time. So it's something we don't talk about, but it's really, if you look at it more of a just you just trying to just become a better you, a better person. And that's why I don't like the unconditional regard, because if I'm trying to do self-development, I don't need you telling me what I'm already saying to you. I'm coming to you because I need solutions to problems. So I wouldn't want that. I feel like I'll have just the side note, I feel like my money's being wasted for you to basically just unconditionally agree with me. I don't feel like I'm getting my money's worth if I'm coming to you with an issue and then you just go, yes, I see what you're saying, I agree what you're saying, and I just try to find myself. That's not why I'm giving you money. I spend money to a mechanic to fix my car, not to tell me what I already, realize. I don't know what's wrong with the car, but you tell me that I got to try to figure out what's wrong with my car. Like, no, you're the mechanic, fix my car. I'm coming to you, fix me. That's
Right.
just kind of how I look at it. I don't see how that people even make the argument of what you said. The one guy make the argument. It should be solution-oriented problem solving. This is what you need to do. Just like a person that's a fitness trainer is telling you this is what you need to do for your body type, or nutritionist to lose weight and get in better shape.
Yes.
That's how I look at it. It's like, give me a regimen, give me a plan, and let me execute that plan so I can get better outcomes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I believe it's a type of transactional analysis, which also another type of transactional analysis is and I'm not going to be able to think of it right now because we've kind of been going all day, so the brain's kind of shot. But can't really think of it. The other type of transactional analysis. But basically the reason behind that is if you have somebody who is detrimentally unstable, who is, for example, with the S word, state of mind, and they're ready to delete themselves, and they come to your office and you tell them, listen, you need to stop that. We're going to fix all that right now. You need to put the product down and stop putting it up your nose.
Right.
And we need to get you back on track now. And if you kind of take that advice given direct approach, that might cause a very highly unstable individual to go out the room and feel like, well, I guess I don't have nobody to talk to because I'm being judged in that particular point. So maybe I should just go and just put this 9mm in my mouth.
Yeah, it's definitely situational. Yeah, no doubt. Like like they say, you gotta use the appropriate tools for the appropriate situation. But yeah, like him, you probably need to phase him in over a longer period of time. But for the people we're talking about, the normal in general, you probably can just get the actual what you need to hear and go ahead and just implement it. But yeah, somebody like that, that person needs to just take it easy and you maybe go through multiple sessions.
Yes.
And just get some at least some affirmation.
Yes.
But
yeah, but again, B.F. Skinner didn't like, and B.F. Skinner is like one of the leading psychologists. Carl Rogers was a psychologist too. B.F. Skinner was also a behavioralist more than a psychologist. And Skinner didn't like the unconditional positive regard too much because it gives congruence. Because in a congruence is me confirming your bias opinions, to where now you're believing in things that not necessarily are exactly true.
And what are the educational requirements for like a psychiatrist? The doctor, right?
A psychiatrist, a doctor. But a therapist is a master's and up.
So I'm going to get a master's degree just to basically unconditional regard.
Yeah.
Come on, man. That's what. Come on. It's back to like being a doctor, not trying to cure cancers and cure common diseases.
Yes. And that's my problem with doctors. I don't want to sit here and go. I have my things about doctors. I feel similar way that Value and Entertainment guy Patrick Bet David feels about doctors, and they, as far as I'm concerned, they don't know enough, and the things that they do know about, they're very arrogant about. You'll go see a doctor about an issue and two of them will say, oh, or according to this, you're fine. And we ran the test, everything's fine. Then you go to another doctor and he's like, no, actually, there's something seriously going wrong. We need to do surgery today, or you need to get on this medication now. I'm glad you came to me. And it's like, well, what happened with the other two? And as far as I'm concerned, from what I see, a lot of doctors follow too much of a rubric when it goes to diagnosing and working on people. It's like, oh, okay, we ran these tests. It looks like you have this. Let's go ahead and get you on a medication program. All right, see you. Have a nice day. One thing that was even said by a particular doctor at a TEDx talk, who aligned with what I feel and see about doctors, and from my personal empirical observation. And he basically confirmed that doctors do not cure chronic illnesses. They don't know how. And that's what I've always felt, because I could see it with my own eyes. They know how to cure minor illnesses. You know, you have a bacterial infection, you know, they can give you antibiotics for that, or you have
penicillin is probably one of the popular ones, like changing drug.
Yeah, or you got an infection, we can open you up and clean it, and you know, oh, your kidney is doing this, we have a drug for that. But as far as you going to a doctor with a medical issue and them coming up with a individualized, idiosyncratic program for you is very difficult for them, because they follow this catechism. And while we are more alike than we are different, there are aspects about us that are more different than we are alike, especially when it comes to illness. And doctors don't do a lot of molding to that to help us. They just don't. And they cannot cure chronic illnesses. They still don't have a proper way to cure cancer. Chemo kills you. They don't know how to cure viruses. Okay? They don't know how to cure viruses. The only way to cure a virus is the person's immune system needs to create the proper antibodies to fight it off. They don't know how. They don't know how to.
Really just making you tolerate it.
Yeah, that's it. They don't know. There's no way. They don't know how to kill a virus without harming people. So, you don't know how to, like I said, cure cancer. You don't know how to cure hepatitis, which I think one of them now they found a cure for. And they don't know how to cure HIV. I mean, so these chronic illnesses, they don't know how to, that've been around for years and years and years, they don't know how to fix. So my thing is, me personally, I'm not even a doctor, and I'm trying to help and fix problems in the world that people with degrees should be trying to fix, which a lot of them are not. I don't understand the purpose of, as far as I'm concerned, how is it that you go to school for almost 10 years and you don't dedicate your life to research? It's like you as a doctor, your job is just, it's like, and I'm simplifying, and I don't, this isn't a bash on doctors, because doctors are great at keeping you alive. They might not be great at curing chronic illnesses.
When it comes to surgeries, we got very good people get good surgeries done all the time.
Yeah,
no issues happening, no one's dying. And then, like, for instance, like when it comes to traumas, like doctors are really good at traumas because it's pretty blunt. It's pretty black and white when it comes to traumas.
Right.
Versus when it comes to medical issues, it's a little bit more. There's a lot more going on that can be going over a prolonged period. Versus like you get shot or stabbed or something like that, they can patch you up.
Yes. Right.
Give you blood, keep you going.
Right.
Give you blood infusion. There's all that stuff that they're very. I will say that it's very. It happens all the time. There's really nothing that goes bad in the surgery room.
Yes.
For the most part. Yes. Even though you're taking a risk, most of the time you'll come out unscathed in surgery.
Yes. And as much as the medical system is supposed to be a hard science, they actually treat it as if it's a soft science. And what I mean by that for the viewers, a hard science is like 2 plus 2 is 4. And that's how the medical system is supposed to be, because biology is very scientific and has exactities about it. But when it comes to, for example, soft sciences like psychology, you have to understand a lot more abstract variables about a particular thing in order to be correct about your analysis. It actually takes a lot more deep-rooted thought. And again, something such as physical health, when it comes to the medical system, it's really like something that should be a hard science, which is, the medical field as far as, physical health. It's actually, as far as I'm concerned, taken in a lower rate than even a soft science. It's like you go to a doctor, I'm having this problem, it's killing me, it's hurting. Well, we ran tests, it looks like everything's fine. What? You ran all the tests, everything is working fine, but I'm having ridiculous pain. Well, here's some painkillers. You guys don't really know. You don't know as much as you think you would know.
You're treating you're treating the piece of paper, not the person in front of you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like every person is different. Like I can't speak to every person the same. I can't treat every person the same. I have to treat according to different personality types, things that you do in real time. But when it comes to the patient, oh no, everybody's getting the same docket. We're going down the list. But it's like, no, treat the person in front of you and actually treat the individual situation appropriate based on what that person presents.
Yes.
To me, that's how it should be. It's like,
yes.
Okay, I'm a doctor. This person comes in. I don't care if I've done a million cardiacs. Every cardiac is going to be different in my mind.
Yes.
Because I want to treat the actual patient.
Yes.
I don't want to just say, hey, it's like, the difference between what I read in the book, analogy that goes, the difference between a nutritionist and a person that's a dietitian and a person that's that sells meat as a butcher. Well, the meat man is going to advocate, I'm going to sell meat to you, period. I don't give a crap if your cholesterol is at a high level and you got high blood pressure. I'm still selling you meat because you came to my butcher shop. Where a dietitian goes, you know what? Based on your cholesterol and this and your family background, I'm going to go ahead and give you this nutritional plan. See, be the dietitian that actually looks at the individual and actually gives a better plan of action versus the meat man that's basically going to just sell you meat, period. No matter what you present or what you're showing, I'm going to sell you meat. And that's kind of how I look at the doctors. That they're just the butcher. You come to my office, I'm selling you meat. I don't care what not saying they don't care, but I'm just saying this is how the process seems to me. I'm kind of with you on that. That's kind of how the process or the system, I should say, the system seems like it's predicated to that. More so is like a mutual fund, person that sells mutual funds. Is he really selling you, a better opportunity like a financial advisor, or is he just selling you mutual funds?
Right.
Yeah. Another analogy,
Yeah. Yeah. So, that's that in regards to my spill about doctors.
Yeah.
Like I said, I love them. They changed the world. Medicine has come a long way. I mean, we know medicine has come a long way, but I'm not going to have a DR in front of my name and not be dedicating my life to research.
I'm with you. That's how you got the doctor. That's how you got the doctor certificate anyway, doing research. You literally have to do that.
Yeah. Then they just.
It's like that's part of your.
Then they fall into the average at best
right
phenomenon, which, in my opinion, being a doctor is not an average at best field that a person should culminate into. Should never be an average at best. It's only should be a superior person. Like, you don't get an average person become a Navy SEAL. Like, when you become a Navy SEAL, your job is to become the most capable and elite and even somewhat dangerous individual in the world.
Yeah, 1% of 1%.
1% of 1%. When you're a doctor, as far as I'm concerned, you should be 1% of 1%.
Yeah, I agree with that. it's like the barrier for entry to be a doctor. As long as you basically finish your school, take your time, maybe it take you 15 years, you could still end up doing a 30-year career.
Yeah. And that's why I've always say, like, really, you have to doctor yourself for the most part.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, no one's gonna take your health. And some of these people that find breakout stuff are not even doctors. You get these people that these herbalist people and some other people that are breaking stuff and curing different common diseases and colds that are not even doctors, but they have a passion for trying to find the answer.
And that's the thing. And as far as I'm concerned, I want a doctor who has pride, and ambition to be like these innovators, as far as I'm concerned, where, you know, we haven't found a cure for this illness. I'm gonna find a cure for this illness, or I'm not gonna sleep. That's the type of doctor I want, because then that's what you should be doing, as far as I'm concerned, as a doctor.
Yeah, no doubt. You definitely don't get that vibe. It's more like you're another patient checkbox.
I mean, like Dr. Ben Carlson, where I believe he had that surgery where he separated those twins, and they told him it couldn't be done, and he said, "No, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get it done." Oh, no doubt. Yeah, he's definitely I will get it done. It will be done.
Yeah, that's why you got it's like all them years of study and hard work and dedication and commitment. I mean, I give you that. I mean, you have to have commitment to even get to that level to get your PhD. So you already have somewhat of a commitment mindset. So why not continue? You know, why not continue with that trajectory that you had to have 13 years of schooling or whatever, give or take 10 plus years or so.
I'm gonna share another video we're gonna react to.
Oh yeah, throw it up.
The feelings, and that's the thing.
And even when I was at Carnival, like the visceral reaction I got from women, like interviewing them when I said, "What do you think of Andrew Tate?" and they're immediately like, "Da da da da," and I'm like, "What does he say that's that bad?"
Yeah.
Like, okay, men don't like old women. Like, who cares?
I don't think it's anything he says that is bad. It's kind of like with Kevin Samuels, how he, before I first watched his videos, I'd be like, "Oh, Kevin, blah, blah, blah. He's saying bad things about black women, blah, blah, blah." But when I watched it, I was like, he's actually telling the truth. Yeah. And so I think when it comes to women
you're such a pick me, just. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
I think when it comes to women, and not just women, but mainly in this conversation, when something is brought against them, they don't take the time to listen and look into what it is this person is saying. Is instantly like, you said something against women, we're going to try to get you off as quickly as possible, instead of sitting down, listening to what he's saying, taking the bits that are like, okay, maybe that's true, and the other bits be like, that's not true, and taking it in and being like, how can I better myself from this conversation that this man had, even though his approach may not be something that I like to hear, but what his words are saying is something that I may need to hear.
That's what it is. I feel like women feel a lot more by the way men say things, but going down to the factual things, we don't really take it in, as you said. Like, it's just based on, as you said, one word, and we're just like, no, that was rude. But it's just like, you have to take it in a bit more. But it depends on maturity.
But that's why I said the weak now govern the strong, because only the weak get. You know what I mean? Their feelings get hurt, and then they govern the strong, and they say, "Oh, you're not allowed to say that now." There's no more strong people because the weak got offended.
Well, we were talking about this the other day on that Fresh and Fit show, and it came up, like, what did he actually get cancelled for? And I can't even, I mean, maybe somebody can answer, but I can't think specifically what he got cancelled for, really. It was just, he got cancelled just for being Andrew Tate, really. And like one, social media company banned him, then the next one, and then they're probably sitting there in their boardroom thinking, oh, God, we've got to do something about this guy. And then so the next one goes down. And it was like that, wasn't it? It wasn't, I don't think it was like a specific, like,
There was a certain...
So as we can see from that video, they were talking about how, the females specifically, that a lot of times things that are said that are highly important and informative and injective and constructive for people and correct are taken out of context and or just not accepted because it's feels before reels, as Rollo Tomasi would say. And it's like we have a society now that is acquiescing to that type of behavior, and it's absolutely ridiculous and toxic as far as I'm concerned. It goes back to what Bruce Lee had said, which, don't pray for an easy life. Pray for the ability so that I could handle a difficult one. And why is that so important? It's important because you can pray for an easy life. It doesn't mean you'll get it. And you won't ever become better by having an easy life. But if you pray for the ability or acquire the ability to be able to handle a difficult life, you are suited with the skills to handle anything.
Yeah, give me the tools to handle a difficult life.
Our society is not thriving towards that direction, nor does it actually believe that we should even go that way. Everything is about, critiquing what people say, critiquing the exposure online, censoring, canceling, stopping, quote unquote, disinformation.
But there's no accountability, though. It's like you're critiquing and doing it, but there's no accountability because you can say whatever and be wrong, and there's no accountability in the critiques and the slander and everything. When it comes down to people, it's like emotional reasoning. We can almost say like the cancel Andrew Tate is based on, it's got to be predicated on emotional reasoning, whereas your emotions are so influenced that you think it's objective truth. So if there's no accountability, like, well, are we canceling this person because we have objective facts that says that he was wrong in what he said? If not, then it's all predicated on emotional reasoning. And to give that power is sad. To give that power is sad because what are we doing? We're basically saying because we don't feel that what a person says is wrong. And then when she says, I don't like how Kevin, even to the ladies on there, I don't like how Kevin Samuels or them deliver, even though he's truthful. And that's another problem I have. It's like, well, look at Eric Thomas. Would he be Eric Thomas if he didn't deliver his message the way he did?
Yeah.
So you're just like, well,
so what's the difference?
I don't like how he's saying it. So what's the difference? Well, I like how he is because he's a motivated speaker. Okay, so what's wrong with Kevin saying the truth, but saying in the same regards of how a motivational speaker speaks? But yet you say, I don't like his delivery, but I had to take his words because they were truthful. It's like, what's wrong with a person's delivery? Because there's a lot of people that speak like that, but no one says nothing against like a lot of the motivational speakers that speak in a lot stronger, or the athletes that speak, like Ray Lewis, right before a game,
David Goggins.
No one basically questions him, but it's like, so these people in the manosphere, again, because it has to come back to information you just don't like. So it doesn't matter if he was even being subtly loud. It would still come up you like he's being really loud.
Yes.
And aggressive.
Yes.
Because he's not speaking louder than Eric Thomas, right?
No. Or David Goggins.
They're nowhere. Or Goggins.
No, nor is he even using the vernacular or even talking like them. They are talking 10 times harder than he ever could. I mean, Eric Thomas, come on. David Goggins, this guy is insane.
Yeah, they're not trying to cancel these people.
No.
These people ain't getting canceled.
No, they'll never get canceled. So it's actually it's nothing about how it's actually being said. In its totality, right? It's what's being said specifically. And the combination of what's being said and how it's being said, it is the problem. Because, like, for example, Rollo Tomasi even said, I'm saying basically the same things that David Busse, which is an evolutionary biologist, and Jordan Peterson have said, but I don't meet the criteria to go on Chris Williamson's podcast. And he's had both of these guys on. So, because apparently I talk in a way that is not appropriate for the type of guests that he has on his, that for the type of audience he has on his show.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. Well, because Rollo Tomasi talks in a tougher way, right? You know, Jordan Peterson talks from, you know, a lot like how, and David Butts, like a lot how I say we just reference from clinical data and we just keep it on that. Rollo Tomasi kind of talks a lot harder than that, but using the same data. He references a lot of statistics and facts and clinical research. He loves evolutionary biology. But so that's an example right there on a lower scale. And then on the higher scale, for example, you have a guy like Eric Thomas who's yelling, screaming, or a guy like David Goggins who's cussing, F-bombing.
Oh yeah, all the time.
But but what he's saying doesn't make how he's saying it bad as far as they're concerned. With Rollo Tomasi, what he's saying and how he's saying it, it's not the problem of what he's saying, it's how he's saying it that makes it the problem. So you have on two different spectrums, it's not what he's saying, it's how he's saying it's the problem. And it's not how he's saying it, but what he's saying is the problem. And if you both of those meet together to where you're saying it in a way that they don't like, and you're saying in how you're saying it in a way that they don't like, then they want to cancel you.
Yeah.
Then you feel like
how you're saying it wouldn't even matter, because if it's positive to
their standard, yeah,
then how you say it should actually still be said. That he said what I love, and I actually agree with it, but I still didn't like how he said it. That would be more respectful.
Yes.
Respected to me, but you don't actually, it's like your music. I will turn up the music that I really like loud. But if you're playing music I don't like and you put it up loud, I might say like, oh man, we can turn that down. That's way too loud. That music's way too loud. You're disturbing the room. But if it was music that I actually can sing word for, would I actually say that?
Correct.
Actually, I'll be selfish. I'll actually be selfish and say, yeah, this is fine. You can keep that playing. But what about the others that don't want to hear the loud music?
Yes.
I might say, no, keep it playing.
Yes.
So then it's selfish to me, to my personal liking. To me, loud is loud, regardless of what it says.
Yes.
Loud is loud. So even if it's a message that you agree with, you still should have said, yeah, that's good, but tone it down. You still be a little loud.
Yes.
But not when it comes to information that feel like it's challenging you. Like they say, when the shoe fits, wear it. If the shoe doesn't fit, then the message is not pertaining to you. But it seems like a lot of these messages are pertaining to the people that are critiquing and slandering. It might be bothering, because to me, I hear a lot of stuff where women talk about men. It don't bother me. It ain't talking about me.
Yeah.
So I don't get upset by it, but it seems like a lot of these stuff be hitting home to a lot of listeners.
And you know, the people who are censoring this are people on the left, and they're supposed to be the quote unquote groups of openness, and they're not. And like I've always said, they seem to have the qualities of openness, but they're not open to ideas that are opposite of theirs. They're very intolerant of ideas that are different from theirs.
To me, that's the definition of openness, is to be intolerant.
It is to be tolerant, but they're not. And there's reasons for that. Is when it comes to openness, it's actually based on an emotional and empathy based culmination, and as a result of that, to be open, you have to be emotional. And to be emotional means, if you're emotionally heavy, you're essentially a system one thinker. And if you're a system one thinker, you're intuitive, you're not going to be a system two thinker at the same time. You're not both of those at the same time. And if you're not a system two thinker, then you're not a conscientious cognitive thinker, at least even at the moment, whether you are in general. So it's really, you know, and the left is supposed to be so open to all these different things. You know, Silicon Valley is obviously the people who are making these calls, and they're predominantly left-leaning, and it's probably a board. It's the amount of people making decisions is probably the size of a boardroom, who are controlling these delete switches to people's lives. It's actually pretty sick. And I will say that while these people are supposed to be open to these ideas because they're left leaning, and what they're not very open at all. And that's a huge problem for our society, and it's very dangerous. And as far as I'm concerned, it's actually kind of borderline discrimination, because the reason why people discriminate, right? They say, oh, that music is terrible, like rap music is terrible or something, or that religion is bad, for example, or those type of people are not good people, or my race is superior. It's really because you don't understand other cultures and other races and other perspectives. That's why you don't like it, because you don't understand it. I remember, to add to your point, I even remember a while ago, I was somewhere at some hole-in-the-wall restaurant. I was there because they had these excellent Reuben sandwiches, and I was there for lunch and Reuben sandwich or whatever. And there were some white people playing some Californian music, California dreaming, music like that, right? After the afternoon, people are having lunch beers and whatnot and having sandwiches. And so I played a Ozuna song, and it had a hard beat to it. And he's singing in Spanish, and in the song he's talking about love. And they were playing their song, and I, on the jukebox, I threw mine in there. Ozuna singing in Spanish about love and stuff. And the white lady behind me was like, well, what is this that's playing? I mean, it's so rough. I mean, we were playing nice, soft music. And I had to explain to her, I said, well, actually, what he's talking about is actually better than the music that was being played, because he's actually talking about loving his woman and affection and love. Oh, well, I didn't know that. I mean, I couldn't tell because the beat was so hard. So the song that actually I played was more about love and treating a woman right, while the song that they were playing, wasn't even on that level of affection. But yet, because she didn't understand it, and the beat wasn't to a harmony that she could understand, she thought I was playing some type of harsh, derogatory music. And see, that's the problem when it comes to like Andrew Tate and this censorship stuff. It's these things are coming from a perspective that you don't understand, and you think that it's toxic to other people because you don't understand it. It's coming at a tone that you don't understand, so you think that it's wrong and incorrect. And this even happens a lot in relationships. If a man yells at his wife, for example, or a woman in public, this is seen as, oh, it's violence and it's abuse. But if toxic. But if she smacks him in public, picks up a large Coke from McDonald's and slams it in his face, this is funny and this is understood. And this is a woman being a woman, and he's bigger, so he should be able to take it. There's all these incorrect, double standard, preconceived notions, suppositions that are based on different things, Marxist suppositions, and not being able to understand different societal aspects that we still need to grow into as a society. Sad.
And I feel like as us, I think when it comes to people, we make judgment calls off of, we don't let information come in and absorb the information, then make a conclusion.
Yes.
Same thing with politics, same thing with relationships. information is everything's based on quick, fast, instant.
Yes.
You know, what do you think about this? And you just give out a blurt information instead of saying what the correct thing to say when you hear something or you're not sure, like that music is going, all right, you know what? I just don't know. You know, before I try to make a judgment call, maybe you go, I don't know everything I need to know to make a good conclusion. So I'm just going to go say, you know, I just don't want to make I just don't want to make a call. You hear smart people do that all the time. I can't answer that. I don't know. I'll find out.
Yes.
Let me find out, or let me get more information. That's somebody that actually is being careful of what they say. And I think most people are not careful.
They're not.
When it comes down to
because they're not smart. Because most people are not smart.
So they just blurt stuff out and they just say whatever type of thing that comes to their, again, emotional responses, whatever emotional response that comes out.
Excuse me, they're smart, but they're not intelligent. Being smart is able to, if we compare smart to intelligence, being smart is being able to read books and regurgitate. Being intelligent is being able to see things in abstraction.
Yeah, okay.
Being intelligent is actually based on wisdom and human intelligence. The definition of human intelligence is being able to take information, knowledge, things you know, and being able to manipulate the world to your desired outcome. Or intelligence versus smartness is intelligence is predicated on wisdom. Wisdom is being able to take information and understand what is the correct way of doing things practically by doing and having a response based on what you're doing to know what is correct and what's not correct. And these people don't understand that.
And to your point, it's like people make these decisions based on TikTok videos. Like you hear people with Kevin Samuels, The Rational Male, you know, Fresh and Fit. What do you think about these guys? And they're like, have you ever watched the full video? No, I just saw a couple clips. I mean, these are people that will make a conclusion off of clips. And granted, we live in a society where everything's predicated on basically short, quick. I mean, even when it comes to even this, what we're doing YouTube, you almost have to clip it just to get people to even pay
engage
attention
with
to
it. Yes.
Yeah, and it's like they even said that the average human now has the attention span of that of a goldfish.
Yeah, 7
which
seconds.
is like 12 seconds.
Yeah, something
or
like
seven.
that.
Yeah, something. Basically, it doesn't matter. Too short.
Yes,
it's short. It's a short time span that we basically our attention. We cannot we cannot hold our attention span for a longer period. So the algorithm is basically saying we need to basically create things for the average person and the average, which I get the science behind it. You got to do things that is predicated on what's out there. It's like, okay, well, the average attention span, I'm making my videos click, so I can make sure I get full production and utility out of this.
Yeah.
Which is sad because it's like that shows our generation coming up. It's not, they don't like long form. You know, that's a very small populace that probably watch. I mean, how many people are watching 2-3 hour videos?
Yeah, we are, but that's why we're the ones able to make the videos also, because we have the attention span to do it, while others don't even have the attention span.
Right,
forget about making it. They don't even have the attention span to look at it. I mean,
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, to make the video, you gotta have the.
The podcast episodes like right now on YouTube are essentially views wise low. I mean, they're the lowest out of the all view types on the online. Kind of somewhat non-existent, but the shorter the clips have gone, the more viral they have gone. I mean, that's so crazy. the within the last 2 weeks, the shortest of clips are at 90K combined. The short in the past 2 weeks, the short clips 90K. I mean, But
it is what it is. I mean, I get it. I mean, that's where you like you said, being intelligent, abstraction. I mean, you gotta do what's proven to work.
Right.
I mean, if it works, it works. I mean, there's no way around that. You gotta make the adjustment. But just saying that the data shows that people want short hits, and to me, even if you are giving it a video where you're giving great life lessons and advice, most people would not even be able to get to the end to where they got all the nuggets to be able to actually implement in their life. So where you actually have a good a eureka moment, like, wow, these guys are really giving some really good knowledge and something that can be able to a model that I can implement in my own life and maybe tweak it a little bit and personalize it and be able to make it work for you. But how many people, like you said, how many people are going to get to the start and the finish of the episode?
No, they're not.
Unless it's drama, unless it's a movie.
Right. And even, unless it's drama, unless it's a movie, unless it's a TV show. Because that's also really not even a movie so much. More so, that's why the TV shows are shooting off. Because it's 1 hour, get the next hit. 1 hour, get the next hit. Meanwhile, a movie's 2 hours and some of them even 3. That's too much. One of the greatest movies of all time is Avatar, and it's over 3 hours long, and a lot of people don't even know what they watched. I mean, I've literally had conversations with people, multiple people about this, who love movies, who are smart, and never got the impact of the movie Avatar like I've had. As far as I'm concerned, Avatar is the greatest movie of all time. Greatest movie of all time. Greatest movie of all time. And the new one is coming out, and it's gonna be killed. And I'm glad that we actually segued into this, because the new movie's coming out. I'm gonna see it. I'm gonna be there, right?
Oh,
and
no doubt.
It's the greatest movie of all time. I've been saying this for years. People are movie advocates. I've explained my perspective on the Avatar movie, and every last person I've ever explained it to said, wow, I never actually thought about it like that. Even the other day, I got a membership to the movie theaters. I see all the movies. I'm a movie person. Forget TV shows. I don't have time. I'm not going to sit there and watch 72 4 seasons 10 episodes each season, 40 seasons. I'm not going to watch a 40-hour movie. Okay, we'll watch one movie, maybe there's another one. Okay, we're done with it, right? Guy who works at the movie theater, who I've actually got rapport with now, because I go all the time. I see him, he works there. We chop it up about movies. And his top 5 favorite movie, Interstellar. I said, great, we're here. He loves Christopher Nolan. I said, we're here. I said, what do you think about Tenet? He said, yes, Tenet. I said, we're here. So we get into the nuances of things. I said, what about Avatar? He's like, I don't see it how you see it. There was another guy by us. We were sitting down podcast. Another guy was talking about movies. He was like, yeah, man, movies, yeah, great. And he was like, I don't see Avatar how you see it either. I said, you guys need to watch Avatar again. Watch Avatar again. Okay? Last week, I see the guy again who works in movie theaters. I saw the last movie where the movie by the director, what's her name? Wild. Last name Wild. Who made a movie now, Something Darling, and said one of the characters in there is incel god Jordan Peterson. I saw that movie the other day. What's her name? What's her first name?
Oh, yeah.
Her last name is Wild.
Yeah, because whatchamacallit posted that the other day. You know what? I know what you're talking about.
Olivia Wilde.
Yeah.
Olivia Wilde. And can't remember the name of the movie, but I just saw that movie the other day. Don't Worry, Darling. Okay. So and when I saw him there, he was like, oh, let me tell you, I want to tell you something. I was like, what? He was like, now that the Avatar movie is coming out soon, number 2, Way of the Water, I did what you told me to do. I saw the first Avatar movie again. And he was like, you were right. It was sick. And he said, I want to thank you because it was absolutely sick. I said, I'm just glad you listened to me. Because me and you, we're obsessive about information, knowledge, and all things factual, objectivity, clinical data. And forget this podcast. We do this every day, all the time. Forget the podcast. Forget the fact that this is online. We do this every day, all the time. This is why we are where we're all today, and other people are not. So I said, I'm just glad that you listened to me. And he said, you were right. That movie is epic. And he said, I'll be honest, the reason why I didn't get it like how you got it the first time is when I saw it, I was a kid. So I really couldn't accept it, the geniusness of it, on how it actually is. You know, the fact that the guy's brother died, he had a struggle.
Yeah.
He overcome his struggle with being able to now not only be in a wheelchair, but being able to walk again in another avatar-type body. Then he had to learn how to be an avatar and learn their ways.
Right.
And then by learning their ways, he understood that they're not just some primal monkeys in the jungle. Savages that have no use. They're actually highly sophisticated beings that are more sophisticated than us. But him learning that and knowing that, there was another conflict of the soldier type guy that just said, listen, they're useless. We're going to get the resources from a tree.
Get the resources.
Get the money. They're useless.
Yeah.
And they're like, no. You guys don't understand. These are sophisticated beings. They're sophisticated. And it's like, listen, don't worry about the monkey people. All right?
Yeah.
We're going to get the resources. So there was a lot of dynamics and battles and stories and a lot of hero villain myths going on. Him finding himself, right? He was lost within himself, having legs amputated, his brother dying, him finding himself through the avatar and through the avatar people, learning their languages, learning their ways, learning himself, the relationship dynamic, right? The love story, that's always an aspect of it. And then him having the battle of him being a human and dealing, do I support the humans or do I support this new life of being the avatar and doing what's right with that? Because all my life I haven't done what's right. Now I have a real opportunity to do what's right, but am I doing what's right because I'm a human and I should be fighting for what the humans, my people want? So many dynamics that were missed.
Yeah.
That were missed.
Oh my God. And the other part that we can appreciate, that me and you know that maybe he didn't know, is that when it came to James Cameron, the director, like he couldn't even make this movie
the technology.
until he had the technology to even do it. So he already had the idea. So we already knew about that part, which actually gives it even more of a, a greatness, because the fact that he was so far ahead of his time with his idea of this movie that it wasn't even able to be even made until 2008 is when it came out, 2008. Because I remember watching it 2008 in IMAX.
Yes.
And yeah, we wasn't, as probably young as the individual you're probably talking about.
Yeah, but I still got it.
To actually,
I'm not that much older, maybe about 5 or 6 years. I mean, that's still enough. But
so for him, he was probably like freshman in high school.
Yeah, something like that.
Even younger than that.
No, younger than that.
Yeah, so I can see that. Yeah, I can see. Yeah, younger. So yeah, I can see him not really, because he wouldn't know all that.
No.
1819 knew all about that this movie is sold out. That it was basically, I mean, I knew it was going to do $1 billion. I mean, even then, at that time, I was like, this is going to easily do $1 billion because the lead up to it.
Yeah, the lead up to
it was good. And back to even then, even though we were a lot younger, I was still looking at research and information before the movie came out anyway about everything about James Cameron, about when he made Titanic. Like I started learning about the movies he made previous.
Yes.
Even with the Terminator.
Yeah, Terminator, top.
Like 10. He has a lot of great, movies. He's one of the greatest directors, if not the greatest director of all time, just because of the fact that his movies that he's made are all through. Even Titanic was probably 3 hours. Like he makes longer movies.
Yes, he does. Yes,
but they're good. And they're really good.
Not to segue into that too much, but the new one's coming out. It's going to be great. I can't wait. It's going to be epic. Also, one of my top directors also that I like, Christopher Nolan. I actually like him. In some ways I like him more. I think James Cameron, even though James Cameron, he's got he's the GOAT.
Oh yeah, he's imprinted in the game, but Nolan's just a lot more
intellectual. It's just that intellect piece is just, oh my God, drives me insane.
His movies are more they're just more, they hit you like with a lot of it's hard to explain. Like
they're brain twisters.
Yeah, there's a lot of plot twists for sure.
Yeah.
He brings the plot twist to a whole nother level. Like, wow.
Yeah. And it's the reason why I like M. Night. And I don't know why people have a problem with him. I've been in clubhouse rooms And I've been in Clubhouse rooms talking about M. Night. People are in the back comments talking crap about me. Oh, what is this guy, M. Night? M. Night sucks. I don't get it. Then it's funny. Really? They'll say M. Night sucks. And then you say, well, and then I'll say, well, I don't know how people say M. Night sucks. He made great movies like The Sixth Sense, and they'll be like, "Oh, well, I like The Sixth Sense." Yeah, I like The Sixth Sense.
Yeah, it's one of the greatest movies.
So you like The Sixth Sense? Well, but you don't like him as a director? Come on.
Yeah, come on. How does these two go hand in hand?
Yeah, come on, Mr. Glass. Let's stop it. Unbreakable, Split. Let's stop. Stop it. Stop. But
yeah, those are years apart too.
Yeah, but for some reason nowadays, I think people don't like to be confused in movies because of it. Remember, we just segued into movies due to attention spans, and I think
that's true.
In those movies, he plays with your mind. He plays with your head.
I can see that because there's a lot of movies that don't have really good plots. It's just a lot of like the Fast and Furious.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they're more like a lot of people love movies like that where it's more like there's more action than there is more
plot
storyline.
Yeah. And that I can deal with that. That's okay. Like for Fast and the Furious type movies, but I can enjoy a movie with more plot than trying to distract me with big bangs and explosions and stuff like that. Like I love action movies, James Bond and all that. But if you're gonna do action and explosions and shit, you gotta do like Equalizer or something. I need something more cognitive,
like the John Wicks.
Even John Wick, even though their storyline is getting a lot of weak, maybe it's gonna pick back up in the next John Wick. The
storyline third one was just ridiculous.
It's just too much.
The whole third.
Yeah, it's like
all right,
it's no storyline. He's just running the whole video.
Yeah, just get to the let's get to the point, man. Like, yeah, but yeah, you're right. Like, we don't need fillers. Like, that's why I like old movies. Like, when you watch some of the old movies, some of the black and grays, like because they didn't have all these extra theatrical, and the CGIs.
Yeah,
it's like you had to have acting. Like you could almost tell like there's like better acting in a sense in some like older movies that still hold supreme today, like The Godfather,
Yes.
That movie's probably in any ranking movie, what do you call people that rank, like the Rotten Tomatoes and the movie database, like all those sites, they all have that like top 5 period of all time. Like I haven't seen too many actually rankings where it's not top 5.
Yes.
So that says a lot about a movie that was made back in the 70s?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. But it's good to ever just now and then just watch just go onto those sites and just look at the top 20 and just try to watch maybe one a month from a top 20 of all time.
Of course, yeah.
Movies.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And they're really good. And usually when it's ranked high, I will say it's usually a good movie, period. Like if you watch something that has a high rating, for the most part, it is actually good. I never really come across one that's in the hot top 10 of all time and watching like, man, that actually sucked.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Generally.
Yeah, I noticed that when it gets really good ratings, like period, through a lot of different, I guess, critics. They're not critiques, but critics. It's usually good. So I try to.
And I will say that I usually agree more with the audience rating than the critics rating. The critics rate a lot of movies in their opinion as good, but they weren't. Like Mr. Glass had decent ratings from people, I think like 80% tomatoes. Like,
oh, that's good. Yeah, that's good.
But it got like 40% tomatoes for the critics. It just doesn't make any sense. Like I said, we live in a TLDR, as Rallo Tomasi would say. Too long, didn't read. Like with something that's just twisted. This is why people had a lot of problem with Tenet. Like and maybe even Interstellar, but Interstellar got a good ratings. But Tenet is not a movie you could watch one time. It took 2 times to really get like, ooh, yes. Once you watch it that second time, it's like, yes. And
Yeah,
most
pick up
people
other-
probably after watching it 4 or 5 times, it would take them to get it because it's too cognitively exhausting for the average.
It's pretty fast paced.
And it's fast paced.
It is. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on.
I remember.
I gotta watch it with subtitles because the first time I watched it, was that person's freaking accent was hard for me to really actually.
The dialect
understand.
of the Indian female.
Yeah. Like stuff like that. That's why I had to rewatch it again and have the subtitles on. I was like, golly, I couldn't. I know you were saying she was saying important stuff, but it was really good, man. It was definitely a mind. And for those that have not seen it, definitely check it out. It's a really good movie. It's a different way of doing things. Even the acting was, what did they say? The acting was all real time.
Yeah.
It wasn't like CGI. It was all live action.
Yeah, live. Yeah.
That's impressive too. That means you got to make the shots count.
Yes, you do.
Like the explosions and everything. Like, no, we're all doing this live action. We don't replicate. This is live. I was like, wow, that's impressive. I guess you can show it when you're watching it that it looks, looks very real because it is.
Yeah, I mean, sick movie. Really sick movie. I don't know how he's gonna do with this Oppenheimer movie though, because this is a movie about the atomic bomb, and it's like I can't see it being a bad movie because it's Christopher Nolan, but it's like, how are you going to incorporate your style into this?
Yeah, how are you going to, what storyline are you?
Because I don't know if you're going to have the creative abilities to be on track to make the story sensible, but still be able to use your creativeness in an expansive manner like you like to use. I think it's going to be difficult. It might just be like Dunkirk. Dunkirk was another movie he did that didn't use
that was good.
It was good though. Because he did play with time with that too.
He does like to play with time.
Because it happened it was 1 day's worth of, the movie was 1 day worth of an event that happened. But you got to see like 5 different stories all at the same time.
Yeah.
So
right.
So he did a good job with that. But like I said, we'll see. He might do that with Oppenheimer. But the whole purpose of how we segue into that was just we live in this TLDR period where too long didn't read, and people have goldfish attentions, and it's incredibly sad,
You can't reinforce anything watching video. Video content is great, but reading is where you actually cement information into the recess of your brain. I can't get that from a video. There's videos where I read something and then I watch a video after I read it, and then it's like the video might give me some more creative ideas and juices because people are very, like you said, abstract in some regard.
Yeah.
And you might take something out and go like, oh, okay, cool, I can connect the dot. But just watching straight videos and never reading, I would argue that you're really never really getting any true knowledge, because when somebody speaks, they're just speaking from what like there's information you can't even talk about until it gets brought out of you.
Yes.
So even in a video sense, there's a lot of information that's missing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like we talk, but there's other things that can be even deeper if we got another question or segued into another, another conversation. But to just watch people's videos, you're only getting this much of what they're talking about every time.
Yes.
The book is more detailed. It's a lot of pages, and it's more detailed and more clearly defined and written, where a conversation is very fluid.
Yeah.
You can't go anywhere. Like, we just obviously segued and do things. So it's like, videos are great, and I'm not going to take that and say, hey, people don't watch videos, but nothing is better than a book.
No. A video is quick, easy, digestible content.
Yeah.
A book takes more... it takes more energy, it takes more glucose, it takes more everything in order to digest, but it is the highest form of formalized thought. It's the highest form of it. There's just no question about it. I can take a year to make one thought to get it correct. Meanwhile, having a conversation, it's what's coming out of my mouth is really not even constructed that much in thought. It's actually just in my consciousness. and it's just coming out fluidly. It's just
right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it essentially, I don't even know what I do know. I do know what I do know, and I do know what I don't know. But within a conversation, I actually sometimes don't even remember what I know until a person asks the right questions, or we're talking about the correct enough topics.
Yeah, that's why open-ended questions are very difficult for, highly intelligent people to answer, because it's like, where do I draw from? Tell me about yourself type of deals, what do you know about this subject?
Yeah.
What can you tell me about investing? You know what I'm saying? Like open-ended questions, like, okay, what exactly do you want to know?
Yeah.
And if you're asking to me, if you ask a broad question, I actually want to tell you, I don't want to answer the question. You need to get in the book and then come back and ask me another question. I think I said that to somebody. It was something open-ended, like open question, like, hey, can you tell me about real estate? I said, how about you go real estate book and then come back and ask me a question?
Yeah.
Because to me, I'm not going to waste my time answering that question because you did no time.
You don't even know what to
ask that question. Yeah, to do that. Yeah, to not even know what to ask tells me that you have no information or knowledge on this subject anyway. Because you would never have asked that question.
Yeah.
You could have been like, hey, I'm in the process of doing this and this and this and this. I'm in the underwriting process. What do you think is next or way I could da-da-da-da-da?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or something more defined. And then you're like, oh, no problem. I can tell you exactly. I've done it.
Yes.
But to just ask that, it's like, actually, it's actually insulting me.
No, it is.
Like, it's insulting to ask just a question like that to somebody that takes it serious and just asks such a question like that. Like, because usually, most like us, we don't mind sharing information, helping a colleague. But, I don't like to just basically be a guinea pig and just, if I need to know something, I'll just ask Mr. Rembrandt or I'll just, ask Raw Wilkes.
Right.
Like, no, do some research and, because it makes the conversation more impactful. I love having a conversation with somebody that already knows something about the subject, then ask me a question.
Yeah.
Because then we can have a little bit of both. We can have a little back and forth. And together we can, learn something, you might even be able to teach me something.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. When having a conversation with Jonathan Pritchett, we even pointed that out. Somebody might say, well, I want to learn about this, that, and the third. I want to learn about real estate. I want to learn about this, or I want to learn about being a mentalist. Okay, well, what books have you read? What seminars have you gone to?
Yeah.
Who's your idol in the field?
In the field,
you're not able to answer these questions. Well, you haven't even started at point A. This is just an idea.
Yeah.
You don't even have a plan.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the foundation. That's why a lot of people can't get to the end, what we call success, because they can't do what it takes at the beginning to even start their race, to even start the journey.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to just get to the finish line, but there's a lot of work in the beginning, that's slow. That's super slow, and of course we live in a fast-paced world, but when it comes down to maneuver in these industries that, everybody likes to, real estate, stocks, podcasting, whatever industry you choose, there's so much information that if you don't get enough of it, you can eventually just lose steam and just basically fail. As you said, the majority of people fail in podcasts, majority of people fail in investing, and developing in all types of these industries that a lot of people want to get in. But if you have all the information first, it's so much easier to maneuver when a problem comes.
Yeah.
I looked at, like, even when it comes to real estate or anything, you should research all the negatives in the negatives and the failures of those industries first. So that way, when they happen, you'd be like, oh, I already read about this, about, or, how to operate in a recession or how to maneuver through, a common problem or issue where people basically failed and never were able to bounce back, because also learning is learning from other people's mistakes, so you don't have to make them yourself, which would be wise.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I reverse engineer, like we do it all the time. We reverse engineer.
Yeah, exactly.
reverse engineer. We don't always, reverse engineer, and that's
backwards.
how and it might take longer, but you always have an answer to a problem, though.
Yes.
There's not too many stuff that we come across like, damn, we're completely clueless.
Yeah, no.
You know, versus some people, they get stuck, but when you ask them, have you read anything? No, I haven't read anything. I figure I just learned through experience. Yeah. Experience alone is not enough.
No, it's not. Experience alone is not enough.
It's a good learning curve. Don't get me wrong. You can learn through experience, but it's not enough.
No, it's not.
You got to have some, a knowledge behind that. Knowledge and experience. And applied knowledge, to be exact. Obviously, you can have a lot of knowledge. We met a person that we, let's put his name on, but he's very knowledgeable, but that's all he does is just regurgitate information, but applies none of it.
Yeah, he's smart, but he's not intelligent. Again, human intelligence defined by Robert Sternberg, who is a leading individual with citations and work on intelligence, and has in the Britannica defined human intelligence as the ability to take information, knowledge, thoughts, and to be able to manipulate the world to your desired outcomes. And I'm paraphrasing. And that's what human intelligence is. So when you look at somebody successful, they are the epitome of human intelligence. They were able to have a thought, have a perspective, have a goal, and be able to create the environment around them to be able to get where they want to get. That's human intelligence. That's practical intelligence as well, which he's also coined. Okay, to be able to, which also can be culminated as wisdom, right? Wisdom is to be able to use, to know what works and what doesn't work by applying and doing things, trial and error, basically.
And what you said reminded me of that, this old saying, or not even a saying, I don't know, just a concept where there was like, when you actually do become knowledgeable, and researched on things and just try to be as I guess, just try to learn as much as possible. And they say that, your thoughts, it changes your thoughts, and your thoughts become your words, and your words, become action, and your actions define you as a person. So when you look at people that, have, average or average at best lives, you got to ask yourself, like, well, what are you feeding your mind? Because if you're feeding your mind just by osmosis, eventually you're just going to have actions that are going to be better than the person next to you,
Yes.
And that's why it looks at us, because we're thought-provoking people, and those lead to our actions.
Yes.
Which, define us as the people we are today.
Yes.
So if I look at my life as a, before I became out on my own, well, I was limited in knowledge, and my outcomes showed that.
Exactly.
And there's people that are aged now that still have that same mindset that we had when we were basically teenagers.
Yes, no growth.
And it shows that their actions are defined. So to me, I always tell people, like, yo, man, you learn as much as you possible, because it's going to change your trajectory. Because eventually you can't be knowledgeable and still act on a lower vibration, a lower frequency. So to elevate your frequency and your level of cognitive consciousness, you got to read and research and be excited to learn. Like, you got to make learning exciting. To me, a lot of people look at it as like, oh man, it's boring, but what's boring is being average. It's funny. It's like contradicting. It's like, I hate learning, but at the same time, you hate being average.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's like, come on, man. You know, but hey, it is the leap past resistance, which I think humans are in general. That's why I think it's only a select few people that get to the levels of apex, because I think it's natural for people to take the least path of resistance, like freaking water going down river, like a river.
Like
just takes the least path of
lightning
existence.
striking down.
Yeah, just least path of resistance, goes wherever it needs to go without any complications and errors. And it's like relationships, least path of resistance.
Causal thinkers.
Or anything.
You know, as Fernberg and Sloan would say, and Fernberg, not to be confused with Robert Sternberg, Fernberg and Sloan, who coined the knowledge illusion, talked about how people are essentially causal thinkers, which is inductive types of thinking, which is no different than Daniel Kahneman's System 1 type thinking. So other cognitive scientists have all come up similar conclusions about the process that people use when it comes to thinking. These are all human behavioral scientists that have figured these out. Cognitive scientists, human behavioral scientists. There's basically two frameworks, and people are either inductive reasoning, which is easy, it's intuitive, and it's lazy. And we need to, at some point, refer back to proper heuristics, because thought process takes a lot of glucose to run off of. Like the brain runs off glucose, the number one thing the brain runs off. And you burn a lot of calories cognitively. Like we're burning a lot of calories right now. We're doing a workout because it is a brain. And sometimes I do so much research that I burn out and I fog out like hard.
No doubt.
Because the brain is it's a muscle and it burns a lot of calories. 40 to 60% of all the calories that you use within a day, it's actually burned up by your brain, which is 2% of your body weight, believe it or not. So, you know, people as much as possible try to revert back to heuristics. And but the problem with that is you don't stretch the muscle out in your brain to get stronger when you just revert to heuristics all day. And then when you're so used to reverting to heuristics,
right,
and you engage in a deductive conversation, you get cognitive depletion, because you start getting cognitive dissonance because you're not able to keep up with the conversation. You start getting upset.
See it all the time. Personally handling. I mean, you know, just people that besides me and you, because sometimes I do this with you so much that you start getting with other people where you start laying the foundation of an argument. They've already shut out before I get to the fucking before I get to the actual conclusion. The point.
Yeah.
I'm good, man. I don't even want to hear it. It's not even that serious. It's like I didn't even finish. I was just warming up to the point. And it's like, then you get to it's bad, man.
Oh my God.
You get labeled. You get labeled that you're, you know, like you're this.
Oh my God.
It's like people that are like us that are just data driven and factual and objective as best possible. You start getting labeled as, oh, you just want to win every argument, and it's like you're just out to just basically anytime it's up, you always gotta have an answer. I said, are you really listening to what I'm saying? Because I know it seems like that way, because it seems like every time something comes up, you're always on the top end of the conversation. And I said, well, that's not my fault that every time we bring up topics, these are topics that I heavily invested in. And so I have a lot to say. And it's not really that I have a lot to say. It's the research that I have that I'm just bringing on the forefront.
Yeah, that's all.
I'm just bringing information to it. I'm actually like a reporter. I'm actually reporting things that you just missed to read. And because of the type of person I am, I guess I could allow it and just say nothing. But I'm not that type of person.
Right, yeah.
I don't allow things just to slide just because you don't like how I handle conversations.
Yeah, or you don't.
And I long for them.
Right.
I'm just gonna go ahead and be that guy again, even though I know you don't like it. But that's me personally. Some people are like, you should just let it go. You know people respond a certain way. It's like, nah, I'm all about doing what is correct. And if I took the time in the effort to learn something and read it, by all means, I've earned the right to talk about it and bring it to people that don't want to hear it. Because to me, I've actually find it disrespectful that you have that person that doesn't read nothing got the nerve to argue with somebody that actually put the time in to read.
Yeah.
I look at it that way. It's like, why are you getting mad at me? I should be mad at you for talking out of your neck for something that you never read on.
Yeah.
It's weird. That's how I look at it. It's weird that, people find the people that seem like, well, you always got to be right. It's not that I'm always right. It's just that when I talk, I like to be 95% correct or I wouldn't talk.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I mean, there's going to be errors where I might be a little off and they're subjected to opinion, but most of my foundation is going to be predicated on something I actually factually can prove.
Yeah, knowing what I do know and knowing what I don't know, that's real intelligence.
Exactly. Sometimes being quiet is also being the smartest move.
Yeah.
And sometimes talking is the smartest move. But, there's always people, it's like the New Yorkers you used to talk about, regardless, they got something to say.
Yeah.
It don't matter what the subject is.
It don't matter what the subject is. Well, we'll wrap this up. This was a good episode. We're going to wrap this episode up of Verbal Artwork with Mr. Rembrandt, with guest Raw Wilkes that you guys already know. Again, follow us on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram at Mr. Rembrandt, no spaces. You can follow Raw Wilkes on Instagram, raw_Wilkes. That's WILKES. You can also find me on TikTok, but I have to gotta do some more uploading on there, and that's gonna be Mr. Rembrandt, no spaces, _ on the end. And also you can find me on Twitter, which is AR Rembrandt. Make sure you go to patreon.com/verbalartwork to get exclusive videos in the back. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you like it. Make sure you subscribe. And continue to watch the videos. Hope you guys enjoy it. Any closing out words, Raw Wilkes?
No, man. Another wonderful conversation. We do this like a sparring practice.
Yeah.
We're made for this. So yeah, just another good conversation with you as always. And I hope everybody gains something from it. As even this conversation with you, I've picked up a couple things.
Yeah.
You like to get your clinical analysis. So.
Yeah, I can't help it.
So it's always good. Yeah. So, but now that's it, man. On to the next.
Yeah. So again, thanks to the viewers for watching, and always remember that words paint pictures, and conversation is art. And that's why this is Verbal Artwork with Mr. Rembrandt. See you in the next episode.